We met those guidelines, and now we're in the process of reestablishing going forward. I believe our governor is looking for 30 to 40% use of alternative energy, renewable energy by 2030. So I believe that as a consumer, I've seen my electric rates go down. Because of renewable energy, we're getting a return back, where we're seeing a reduction in our cost of electrical use and energy use. So the expanding renewable energy is paying benefits to us as consumers, and I suggest that we continue going in that direction. So thank you. And also have a choice.
I support Gary Glenn. When we start eliminating choice and allowing electric company monopolies to have control over, I mean, we need choice. We need to be able to choose who's the cheapest, who's the best, and make a decision from that. Having a monopoly over an electric company and then telling me I have to buy electricity from you without that choice is, we can't do that. So that's what I'm on that.
Gary, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, there are two proposals in the legislature regarding energy competition and a previous law that is expiring. Representative Nesbitt's proposal would end open market competition, and Representative Glenn's proposal would expand market choice and competition for schools and public organizations. It would also expand the net metering program for customers who generate their own energy via solar or other methods. How would you vote on those proposals?
Well, I am as much a free market person and a fair trade as anybody out there. I'm all for choice, but a public utility is just not the same as another organization or company. Currently, we allow 10% of our energy to be able to go out and buy that from a different supplier. I would support the current status quo of 10%, but opening it up to free choice for all just doesn't work. My brother and parents live in Texas, where they have choice. And when they say choice, that means you can go buy your power from anybody you want to. Well, they've got rolling blackouts in Texas. They've got all sorts of issues, aging infrastructure. These utility companies are regulated, the rate that they have to charge. Their equipment gets used then by another company. It's just not the same as having a normal corporation. It's not like somebody from Dodge is going to run over to Ford and borrow their assembly line to run a few cars off. So I would support the Noss-Nesbitt bill and I keep up with the 10% choice that currently is the status quo.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I did teach social studies in 5th grade, and one of the things that my students learned was that the 13 colonies did not necessarily want to join the Union. They did not want to have this big government telling them what to do and having to pay taxes. This is America, we should have choice, okay? There will be someone to regulate it. I have no problem right now. We're saving money. Other Americans should be able to do what they can to save money. We don't have deep pockets. Choice is great. I'm sure our government will regulate it. I have cousins that live in Texas, and Texas is great. Haven't heard of any of those problems. But Michigan, as a resident of Michigan, you should have choice. I had choice. I had wind, now I have solar. You all should have the same choice.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the next topic area. I think it was given to you as social religious liberty. Got two questions here. First of all, is a challenging one. The Michigan Board of Education recently created a firestorm with issuing instructions to all school districts to provide accommodations for students self-identifying as transgender. Senator Casperson has introduced Senate Bill 1993, which would balance the rights of parents by requiring parental involvement and consent of a student's request for said accommodations, allowing them to use staff-only or unoccupied facilities and bathrooms. Would you support a House version of that bill? Why or why not? If you'd like me to repeat it, Mr. Rowling, you start.
No, that's interesting. In my house, I have 2 bathrooms. I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. So all my bathrooms support 2 sets. I know about Senator Casperson's bill, and I would support a House version of it. I believe that parents should be involved. The issue we have here is the government overreaching, getting in our business, getting mothers and fathers and their kids' business and trying to make a decision for us. I don't think it should be. I think we need to allow parents to be involved in whatever decision is made and go from there. So yes, I would support a House version of that and vote for it. I need it.
I support local control. Parents need to be involved at every level. I'm not necessarily certain that we need to have a state law that's passed to dictate that to our local schools and our parents. I think that needs to be left up to those that know best.
Okay, I also believe in local control. The school systems, I teach in a school, I know that schools are there, should be there to look out for their students. Parent involvement, definitely, that comes first. But there are some parents that aren't as involved as we'd like them to be. So I believe that the school system should have a plan for students that are LGBTQ, and these are kids. We have to protect them. They may or may not know who they are, but they're still kids. And we can't be looking at it as how we feel as an adult. We've got to think of them as kids, and we have to protect them. And I think our school systems would do a great job doing that.
I was kind of surprised when the Department of Education came out with their statement that we had to provide special accommodations for children that are in their formative years without parental involvement. They're selecting what gender they want to be. I've been a teacher for 18 years. I work with inner city children. It doesn't matter where the child's from. I've got 2 children that went through their teenage years. They're very formative. They're questioning. They're wondering what's going on. I don't understand the real push that we have to accommodate. I don't want a child who is a boy, who thinks he's a girl, to come into my daughter's dressing or locker room because he now thinks he's a girl. I don't want that. But I also want to respect that this child is searching. And so we have an extra bathroom they can use. They can use a nurse's room. They can use a bathroom somewhere else if they're in that position. But I don't want that happening in my child's locker room. Interesting situation happened to me many years ago. I was at University of Michigan for a conference, and I know I'm almost over. But I was out there at their executive business school taking a class.
Briefly.
And briefly, and we had all gone out that night, which we all do afterwards, after a long day of session. And we were at a bar, and I'm in the bathroom, girls' bathroom. There's a boy in there. I go, oh my God, what are you doing in here? It was game night. This was back in the 80s. But you know, I mean, these are situations that I have difficulty with.
Okay, thank you. Everybody's had a chance to answer. Next question, social religious liberty. I think Mr. Hart started. Are you pro-life or pro-abortion?
I'm pro-life.
I am pro-life, there is no question about it. I am Catholic. I believe in pro-life. Life begins at conception. I helped with our school's pro-life club. I've been on the Walk for Life in Washington, D.C. There is no debate, pro-life.
I am as well pro-life, but I'm also supportive of a woman's right to make a decision. My belief is my belief, and I live by that. But I also am of the generation that women have fought very hard for their rights. And as a legislator, I have to represent all the people in my community, not just those that share my religious belief of pro-life. So I have to recognize the fact that there may be some that disagree with me and my belief, but this is America, and we have our rights to believe what we wish to believe.
Respond again if we didn't use all our time.
I am also pro-life. I got 4 kids, pro-life. Some of you guys that know me know that I founded, was co-founder of an organization called the Frederick Douglass Foundation. And that's one of the tenets of our organization. And we're in Washington often for events. We are going around the country showing videos to individuals in urban communities because we know that Planned Parenthood targets urban communities. They target urban communities. They target urban communities. So we are out in full force letting people know what the real deal is and why Margaret Sanger wanted to eradicate the entire race of individuals and why it exists. Kim earlier said that she had the endorsement of Right to Life for the state of Michigan. I also received the endorsement for Right to Life for the state of Michigan, because I believe in life.
Okay, since I didn't use all of my time, I wanted to add to that when we talk about choice, and my kids say, Mom, so-and-so said that they're pro-choice, I say to them, ask them what the choice is. The choice is killing the baby or letting the baby live. That's it.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add one more thing. I believe we need to also change how we direct this. Perhaps we need to make sure that we're educating on birth control. And to make sure that our young people aren't then stressed out, but do I abort this fetus? What about making sure that Planned Parenthood is actually addressing birth control?
Thank you.
So that we don't have to address this other issue that's very heavy, plays very heavy on
Thank
your
you.
moral obligation.
Okay, we'll move to the next topic. You all got a chance to answer, correct? Yeah. Next topic, I believe, Kim Lasada starts with this one. We are moving into education. Oh, happy days, she says. What are your thoughts on Common Core and standardized testing? Would you support legislative proposals to repeal and replace?
Gosh, I hadn't even thought about that, or that you would ask this question. All right, I am a teacher. I teach 5th grade at Lake Michigan Catholic. I do teach Common Core. while I have not had a problem with Common Core as a teacher, I do see that many parents out there that I've met do have problems with this Common Core. They are, well, I've discovered that it's created distrust between the parents and the schools. Definitely, I've seen it. So I would vote to repeal Common Core, but we must make sure, absolutely sure, that what takes its place is what we're going to stick to. Because just because we can't do the math, well, I can, but maybe you can't do the math, we can't keep flip-flopping. We need to stick with something that we find. And also, we need to also think about, if we are going to repeal the Common Core, what are we going to do? In the meantime, the SAT, the ACT, they are all geared towards the Common Core.
I kind of thought Common Core became history behind us because of all the things that we've been talking about with Common Core. Common Core originated from the federal level, and it was done so that we would have a level playing field across the country. From California to Iowa to Pennsylvania to Rhode Island, that we were making sure that our kids were on target, on the same target point, so that everyone was getting judged or evaluated at certain levels. That was a good thought. But what's happened is the federal government tied in federal money with Common Core, and so if you wanted the federal funds, you had to adopt Common Core. Then we were told that Common Core will restrict on how a teacher can teach. We as educators need a guideline. We need to know what points we have to hit. But having it mandated by the government is another subject. We as teachers need the freedom to educate our kids as we need to, knowing the different benchmarks we have to reach. I'm a math teacher. I had benchmarks that I met. Also, Michigan is looking at Massachusetts Common Core. That's wonderful. Massachusetts has wonderful results. They're doing great on academic testing. The kids are coming out great. But what our legislators have failed to tell you is that they're spending approximately $5,000 more per student than we are in Michigan. So how can we have the same results as Massachusetts when we don't invest in our kids the same levels? Thank you.
Common Core was created by individuals that's never had dirt underneath their fingernails. Common Core was created to befuddle me. I got two little girls. One is now going to the 5th grade. The other one is going to the 3rd grade. You know, it was my night to help, and it didn't work out so well. I thought I was doing calculus. I went to Eau Claire High School, graduated from Eau Claire High School. They taught us how to use our toes along with our fingers. And so this didn't make any sense to me. I honestly and truly believe that we need to repeal Common Core and do it as soon as possible so our kids will not continue to be indoctrinated.
I've been on the record that I absolutely would repeal Common Core. It's not working. It's become a hindrance, and I think there's far better alternatives that we can have to what's currently in place.
Thank you. This next question is directed regarding the Detroit Public School System. And we've included it simply because the financial impact of it impacts everybody over here as well. And we'd like your input on this, your thoughts on this. Under House Bill 5384, Detroit Public Schools will receive a bailout of $467 million to pay off debt and another $150 million for unspecified costs. and transition control from a state receivership to an elected school board, subject to oversight by the State Board of Education. Would you have voted for this bill, or would you have not? I think Mary Brown will start with you.
I would have voted not. We have been spending millions of dollars in Detroit public schools. I used to go into Detroit public schools when I had my business. I sold educational products to schools. I went into Detroit schools. They were a mess then, 20 years ago. And they haven't gotten any better, but we have continued to bail them out. What's happened is that we've had flight from our urban districts, and with that flight, they lost money. And those people in control, the administrators from superintendent all the way down, did not have the skill set to fix it. They couldn't follow their budget. They couldn't adapt. If I was in business and I couldn't adapt to my cash flow, I'd be out of business. So I hold those districts strictly accountable for what they've done. I've seen it. I've lived it in Benton Harbor. I've seen what's happened. And the continued flow of cash from our state to these failing districts is not the answer. The answer is to change the way we're doing business and make sure that everyone is accountable. Those people in Detroit public schools that were embezzling money should be in jail for a very long time, because they certainly did not have our youth in their best interest.
I'm taking a stance with it. We, as our state constitution requires us to educate kids. Period. Point blank, period. So, adults made poor decisions. And we're going to penalize kids for their decisions? How do we justify that? Having a moral responsibility to teach 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds in spite of individuals who made poor decisions. We have a moral responsibility to do that. In this case, I would support DPS. I would have supported making sure that the school existed. But I would have had other caveats, and I don't know if they do, they probably do. We need to be completely transparent with dollars. That means Michigan is really involved in how things are done. But there is no way, so we walk away from Detroit, DPS, they fail. The charter schools are failing, and so we're supposed to let it turn into a third world country? We know that Detroit made poor decisions. We need to be involved in their next decisions. But I would have, because of the moral responsibility, I would have voted yes.
Thank you.
Well, DPS is a mess for sure, there's no question, but the state did the right thing. It wasn't good debt. It wasn't the type you could file bankruptcy for and let them flail. It was tied to buildings, and it was guaranteed by the state. And it was the lesser of two evils, and it also gives Detroit a fresh start. Nobody likes to allocate dollars like that, especially when we have a hard time digesting it to start with. But it was a tough vote, but it's something that needed to be done. And hopefully now, new standards and a fresh slate. I mean, it's pretty hard when you are superintendent of the school district and you've got all that debt hanging over your head. It's really hard to make tough decisions. There's only so much you can cut with how many dollars are given to you. So I don't like it, don't want to see it happen again, but I support the DPS restart.
Okay, from what I understand, there are two Detroit schools now. One is a new school for the students. The other is a school that has the debt that is going to be paid off. So they started a new school, if I'm correct, in what I read. Again, Troy is absolutely right. It's in our Constitution that every child deserves or is entitled to a public school education. I don't think there was a choice. I mean, we had to bail them out. Do I think it was a good idea? Oh, it was a long time coming. They've accrued this debt for years and years. The focus should be on the students. I kept wondering, why is there so much focus on Detroit Public Schools? It's a building. Focus on the students. I am happy with what came out of that after the bailout, that the charter schools there will be more charter schools open to the students so that more students have a choice and that they are available to them, because parents may not have transportation to the other schools. So yes, I agree. Hard decision. I know a lot of people are going to get, have their constituents be upset about it, but it had to happen.
Thank you. Because you've been so concise, we have extra time.
Add on to that, the last question.
No, that's not the last question. Before we get to the audience questions, we'll throw a couple more out at you. Simple one. Are you in favor of repeal of no-fault insurance? Mr. Rowling starts with you.
Yes! We need those insurance rates to come down. I know insurance companies don't like it, and that's unfortunate, but right now, unlimited liability is hurting everybody. And, you got individuals that, I know some individuals that are still getting paid for unlimited liability. And, it's unfortunate, but I think we need to eliminate that.
Got to get one more in, Gary. Thanks. I am very concerned if we repeal no fault from the standpoint of there's been no guarantees by the insurance companies that it's going to lower rates. Based on, if anybody watches Indiana's television, you can see that the attorneys pay for everybody's salaries with any of the TV stations down there. So I know that the attorneys would be very happy, but I'm scared to see what's going to happen to our health insurance rates if we all of a sudden don't have these other caps that are in place on our auto